Right, people, what is happening? Welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. Welcome to my friend Brian. We've just sat through a roller coaster of a match there. Chelsea 4, Manchester City 4 at the Bridge in the pouring rain. Chelsea coming back from, I think, being behind 4 times in the match. It's a whirlwind. Brian, that was intense, wasn't it?
You know what? I think you were unlucky.
Yeah.
You know what? As mad as it is, because you got that last minute penalty, even at 4-4, and as great as a result it is, it's Manchester City, it's the champions. Chelsea's record has been terrible at home. Still, that Haaland penalty, for me, and I haven't watched it again, it was a dive. I thought he dived, and I thought he absolutely sold the ref when it was him also pulling and pushing on Cucurella. Then he gets a little away, but it looked like he actually got pulled down. He didn't. He went down for virtually nothing, in my opinion. And when you look at the fact that, you know, my game at the weekend, Anthony Gordon's shirt was getting pulled off of him in the box, nothing given. It was nowhere near that bad. So I think you guys should have won today. I think you were probably the better team.
Do you know what the funny thing is? When you sort of turned to me straight away and you said, "Do you think that's a penalty?" I said, "You didn't you?" I said, yeah. I said, "I think that's probably a penalty." And then we watched it back. And I saw that the only reason Haaland gets round Cucurella is because he's got Cucurella's shirt, in the first place. So obviously we're feeling hard done by there. And then we see it time in, time out, man. When a team go 1 down against City, even if they're away from home, City then go through the gears and usually put 2 or 3 past them. But in recent weeks, we're seeing a real fight to this Chelsea side, aren't we? We obviously came back into the match. Thiago Silva header from a corner. And there it looked like we were in the ascendancy, didn't it? Were you impressed, even at that point, at 1-1? Were you impressed with the style of football you were seeing from Chelsea?
I wasn't just impressed. I was quite shocked. I was like, you lot are absolutely bossing this. Then to make it 1-1, I think did it go 2-1? It did go 2-1,
It went 2-1. Sterling turning up in a bigger game. Not for once, from my opinion, but a lot of people say Sterling goes missing in the bigger games. He don't score against the bigger teams. And he had a vengeance for Man City today.
I've never ever been a huge fan of Sterling. I've always knocked him. I thought he dined out on inflated numbers. Even this season, I think, yes, he's turned up against Luton and a couple of others, but it's not been good enough, especially for the fact he's the biggest player at the club. He was outstanding today. To be fair, it was Cole Palmer. He played like he was on steroids. And you can see, though, the frustrating thing for some Chelsea fans might be you gave more effort today than what we usually see you give. So we should expect this every week for the money you're getting paid, not just because you've got a rivalry going on with your old boss or whatever. But look, he was unbelievable, and as was Palmer.
I think coming up against Kyle Walker as well. I was looking at that game today, and listen, it's a bad call from myself. In my pre-match preview of this game, I named my starting lineup. I did predict that Pochettino would go with Sterling, but I said, it's telling me maybe Mudryk could do a better job in against Kyle Walker today.
Because you're not familiar with him.
Maybe, yeah. And I think the fact that, of course, they've played with each other for club and for country. Yeah. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, Sterling's looking good this season, taking men on and whatnot, but not so much maybe against the elite level in Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
And he won the battle there today, didn't he?
When Mudryk came on, ironically, he gave the ball away and you were going mental. You were like, it was like halfway line, you're like, you don't give the ball away there. I was like, fucking hell.
Well, I'll tell you what, curse of the commentary, right? If you lot haven't already, make sure you're watching the Kick Off Livestream. It's up on the page, it's on the live stream, because curse of the commentator, me and you were having a little discussion about one man in particular, Nicholas Jackson.
He's always there, isn't he now?
Mate, his name's just about rolled off my tongue. He puts one into the back of the net and scores. Yeah. And his numbers, when we're looking at him, like me and you have had this discussion a couple of times over now. We don't know necessarily if Jackson's the man to lead the line for Chelsea. But if he's not the man to lead the line for Chelsea, my God, he's a good backup.
Well, that's literally what I said. Right at that moment, I went, he's not ever going to be the main guy, but he's a backup guy. But to be fair, his anticipation of that ball coming back out was really good, and he did really well, and I'm happy for him. Like, I'm not someone who wants the kid to fail. It's just you're looking at him stumbling around, fumbling the ball a lot, and this season I've not seen anything to tell me he's going to be the guy. But if he can keep doing this just enough to that, when you get this, what we think is going to be Ivan Toney in January, and the football that he's playing is getting better and better and better. And the reason why I've given Chelsea a bit of an excuse in the early part of the season is your team didn't know each other. You didn't have a clue who was starting, where they were playing. I mean, it was an absolute guesswork. Yet now Pochettino, we're getting to predict them now. The players are becoming more familiar. Things are gelling. And everything is telling me now this should be the real turning point. We thought it was Arsenal. Didn't happen. It's got to be now. If this is going to be a European finish, this has to be a building point.
After Jackson puts that goal in, obviously we see Rodri. He scores, heavy deflection, it goes 4-3, and we're looking at things and we're thinking, 10 minutes left in normal time. Maybe we're going to be able to walk away with our heads held slightly high in a spirited loss, yeah? A bit like the way everyone was saying about Tottenham, the real winners were Tottenham last on Monday, which obviously, listen, I don't agree with, but we looked like we were maybe walking away with a spirited loss. And then who else but Cole Palmer to step up from the penalty spot? I said to you, didn't I?
Who won the penalty? I can't remember. Was it
Sterling?
I think it might have been.
Mate, it's been fucking chaos today, isn't it? But listen, right, we had a bit of a laugh.
Was it Bro? Yeah, someone like that?
Yes, it was Bro, yeah. It was Bro who won the penalty. Yeah. Me and you had a bit of a laugh earlier on in the season when Cole Palmer came in. He had played about 10 minutes of football and I went to you, mate, this boy's fucking magic. And you're thinking, you say that about everyone.
Yeah.
He's coming so good, isn't he? Nine goal contributions so far in 9 starts for Chelsea.
And you know what's impressed me about him? For a young lad, he's calm under pressure. Like the kind of penalties imagine the drama inside of his mind, right? Let's not forget, we had Erling Haaland trying to put him off, goading him. Like, that wasn't cool. I know it's competition and you got to do what you get to do, but you used to play together, and there should be a level of professional respect. He was doing everything to put him off, and kind of fair play for the shithousery. But anyway, Palmer doesn't let it affect them, and that for me is you've got that winning mentality. To put that away against your old club when there's a bee in your bonnet, there's a point to prove that manager didn't want you, and you want to show you fucked up when you let me go. And in the little celebration?
Mate, I'm loving the goal celebrations. Against Spurs, you give it the old... And this one was just...
There you go.
You see what happens? Yeah. See what happens when you let a gem slip right through your fingers. Listen, you spoke about it being a turning point. And I said to you on the kickoff, obviously, listen, watch the stream. If you haven't already, it was one of the best ones I've been on today. We're
definitely doing a highlights.
Last couple of weeks, man, I've been buzzing with these because I was sitting there and I was really, really happy that you were giving me the opportunity to be on the kickoff. But at one point, reality hit home and I thought, good opportunity. This is going to be a long, hard season for my team. I'm just going to be getting bantered week in, week out. And it's going really well for us. Is this going to be a turning point? Because ultimately, as good as these performances have been against Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, City now, we're looking at it and we're going, the elephant's still in the room and the problem hasn't been solved, that when a team comes and plays this low block against us, we're still really going to struggle, aren't we?
I think that you shouldn't. Not as much, because momentum is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, and now you're getting it. And there's no way you can play like that against Arsenal, like that against Spurs, even though Spurs were performed well in the early part of the game. And now you've gone toe-to-toe with one of the biggest punchers in Premier League football and come out, a bit like Francis Ngannou, people weren't expecting that. And now you can look at yourself and go, we can do this. So why the hell are we struggling with a Brentford? It can't be accepted now. And I think that circumstances changed, expectations changed. Chelsea fans should be demanding a bit more from them moving from this point on. You've gotten to know each other. We've got a settled team, settled system. And now Jackson is actually, even though he's not clinical, he's sniffing the chances out like he did today against the best team in the world. It's not against, decent... It's the best in the world he did that. So this has got to be it now, building time.
When there's crime cases and stuff, yeah? And there'll be that one person in the case that everyone thinks is a complete nutter. And then eventually they get proven right and that one person gets to be a little bit smug at times. That's how this season's feeling a little bit for me. Yeah. There were certain times when I was going, mate, we're actually playing some good football, and everyone's going, you're 12th, you're 11th. And even now we're not in a great position in the table. There was another time, obviously, when I was saying, you said to us, you haven't got any match winners. I went, well, we've got Reece James. And everyone sort of looked at me and thought, did he just say that? But you can see from even Reece James's performance today, he massively elevates us, doesn't he?
I think he was arguably man of the match. I know because of the way the score was and how many goal scorers there was, but he pocketed Doku comfortably. And the talk was about him coming into this game. 4 assists in a single game. You didn't even know he was there for the most part. So, yeah, like match winner, I think it was the way you worded it. People give you a bit of stick because he isn't your stereotypical match winner, but he is arguably the best right back in world football on his day. So, yeah, completely right about that. And look, I think you guys proved a lot to each other. Especially those players now can look at each other and go, I know what you're about now. When there was so many of them who didn't have those questions answered. Now you've got the answers.
I've got one last question for you. Obviously, I will be going into a lot more depth probably tomorrow when I record a video and I completely review the match. But final thoughts on this, right? And a lot of Man United fans are going to hate me here because I'm not even going to get too gassed up now and say, we're going for top 4 or anything beyond that. But one thing I would take a lot of happiness and joy from is if we finish above Manchester United this season. We spoke about this before on the kickoff, and you told me that even though the performances from Chelsea look better, the way Man United are able to get wins against some of the smaller teams that we're failing to is probably going to be pivotal for them. I do look at obviously the way Man United performed against Arsenal, against Manchester City, and I look at our performances. And I think there's enough here for me to firmly say that we finish above Man United this season, but you've disagreed with that in the past. Has your mind changed at all today?
Logically, you 100% should finish above Man United. Man United are playing the worst football I've ever seen from them, and Chelsea, you know, have just put on a hell of a performance today. They're so lucky. Like, they're terrible for 95 minutes, they'll score in the 96th, right? So, you should be right. But right now, Ten Hag has just got that thing where he's just getting lucky, and I don't know. But based on general football, you're absolutely right. You're the better footballing side, and it should happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me. Listen, mate, thank you once again, obviously, for all the opportunities, for being on the kickoff, for coming on the channel today.
He's a legend.
We're facing off soon, aren't we? Chelsea against Newcastle.
I think Josh is trying to get me to go to the cup match with him as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Listen, I'll get us the hospitality tickets. We'll all go up there.
We'll sort something out.
It's a bit less rowdy.
Just
I think
make sure no one
that'd be
chins
quite
me
nice.
or the Stamford Bridge if that happens. Yeah, for Christ's sakes.
You'll have a boxer with you. Josh does a bit, doesn't he? People, thank you very much for tuning in. I will drop my match review tomorrow. Thank you to my friend Brian, the true Geordie. Make sure you're subscribing to the Kickoff and obviously all of his other channels, and I will see you all in the next one.
Cheers.